I think it's okay. Well, we'll just get started. Okay, it's 5:01. We will call this meeting to order. This is Kirsten Thompson, Community Development Committee Chair. Sorry, I have to keep notes on my phone. We have in attendance myself, Kirsten Thompson, Lori Thomas, and Brandy Johns. In attendance today, excused from today's meeting is Chloe Cleveland and Severin, unless they come later, and also our City Council Liaison, Carrie. Daniel. No. Minutes. I sent the meeting minutes from our last meeting held in January. We had a little bit of a red light, green light on whether or not we should go all in on proceeding with the strategic plan, told to go on hold, then told to keep going. So we did not hold a meeting in February, because it's March now. So we haven't had a meeting since the end of January. So I circulated those minutes. So if we can approve those minutes.
Make a motion to approve the January 2026 minutes.
Second that. Okay. Let me just write that down. And then, with that in order, oh, hello.
I will have a printed agenda.
We don't have a printed agenda, but I will move your name up to attending. I'm keeping notes on my phone
I try to only go so fast on Woodland Hills Drive.
Hey, 5:02. Bad. Okay, well, we just approved our last meeting minutes. We didn't hold, I was just saying, we didn't hold a meeting last month. We were kind of told to go on hold, but then told to proceed. So we are proceeding with getting the strategic plan together. Daniel, do you want to just first, we need to get an update on budget, just to have on public record. And then 2, get an update on, you can hold that later if you need to. And then update on, you've met with a few different city employees and the progress on the strategic plan.
And as a council, we did receive part of the planning commission's recommendations.
I think you guys got like the first half of the general plan or something.
I'm trying to remember how many chapters, because I can't remember which way is half, but we got part of it.
Yeah.
Can't remember if we did it in thirds or fourths.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to remember too.
I thought it was like 1 through 6, but.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was 1 through 6. Is this just old stuff, or is this, oh, here's the agenda.
Oh,
Just under our,
I didn't even know we had one of those. It's usually just sitting here. So.
yeah. I thought that she would have had one for us.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, thank you for pointing that out. Okay, Daniel, are you ready to take the reins?
Yeah, sure. And when you were saying chapters 1 through 6, what was that about?
I think the council, received from the planning commission some chapters of the general plan draft.
Great.
I don't know if it was
You
1 through
printed out
5 or 1
yourself,
through
or did
6.
Joyce give you?
This is our copy that I printed
I'm gonna ask her to print me.
from what the Community Development Committee approved. I don't
I did
have
much better
the edits
than
that
a
have
hard
been made since. So this is my 100-page copy.
So if I'm understanding that correctly, Planning Commission has made a recommendation on a portion of the general plan and forwarded that to council?
Just maybe looking for edits.
I think all of it now has been passed on to Ben.
All of it hasn't passed on to me, but,
I think-
because the mayor was looking over it first, and then he was doing something before it sent to us. And I still don't know if it shows side by side what the committee did and what the planning commission did, or if it's just, here's the planning commission. Because we were supposed to get it side by side or color coded at least. I don't know how you presented it to them, but it was supposed to be so that we could see the committee's stuff in one color and the additions or subtractions in a different color from the planning commission.
But
I don't know what that
doing
looks
that.
like.
Yeah, because the planning commission just took the community developments plan and crossed off a word here and, added this little thing here. And gave that to Ben, and I think Ben was making the changes that the council will see.
I don't know. I just want to see committees, planning commission, and then make my own mind, right? I don't,
Well, you could probably do a screen share and have like one
Yeah.
half be the left one half, and you just compare the differences. I don't know, but-
I'll have to ask.
Because I think the
Worst
planning
case.
commission's changes were pretty minimal.
Yeah. that
Yeah,
was one-
I heard from Wayne today that the planning commission changes so far have been quite minimal.
Yeah.
He said a few little things of wording here and there, but a lot of it isn't substantive in nature. And he said most of the goals are staying the same.
Yeah.
I've
So-
heard the same.
I have not seen an example. Okay, so Kirsten, sorry to go tangent. I'll answer your questions. So budget, we're doing great on budget. So the overall project size, I don't recall the amount of the full grant that Woodland Hills received. I believe, I'm going off memory here, that Woodland Hills had a grant plus a match of a certain amount, and maybe a little bit of that was spent with a prior consultant early on. But the
Yep.
budget that came to us at Sunrise was 117,000.
Yeah, I think it was 125 altogether. Does that
Okay.
sound about right, Lori? It was about 125, and then we paid like 8 or 10 to the other consultant, but not all of it came out of the grant money because some of it the city was using for that other portal. So it kind of came out of two spots, but yeah, but
Okay.
about
Great.
that.
Yeah, so the amount that went to Sunrise Engineering is 117,164. And right now we have spent in the 80s, the low 80s. So the last month I'm seeing 77,160, and I know that we're somewhere beyond that now. So I don't know the exact amount right now, but it's going to be in the low 80s. So that means we have more than $30,000 left. So we have plenty of funding to do whatever. Also, I have been incredibly, just on my projects, how I do things, I am incredibly picky on my billable hours. And so, we can recoup whatever, because I don't bill a lot of times when I'm just talking with staff for fixing things here and there. But yeah, so we have enough budget that we are going to make it to the end of the project just fine, and we can do whatever is needed to make sure that we have a general plan and strategic plan that is what the city wants and is useful to the city. We'll continue talking about the strategic plan today. I understand that I think there are some different views about what needs to be included in that strategic plan, and there's enough budget that we can make sure that whatever it is we need to include, we can get included. So I wouldn't be worried at this point that we're running out of budget and that we're gonna have to cut things or whatever. We should be able to accommodate, whatever it is that needs to be in that strategic plan. So that's good news.
Okay. Good. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Yep. And then what was the next thing, Kirsten?
Just what's the status of the draft on the strategic plan? You've met with some of the city employees.
Mhm.
How are we doing? And
Yep.
I'd like to keep that moving, this project moving along.
And that's one thing I was kind of wondering about too, because it was my understanding that, because the strategic plan will, after it comes to this committee, will go directly to the council, not to the planning commission. And so, in getting the staff's input, because it will be a council document, just like the general plan is the planning commission's document. What's that process looking like on your side, Daniel?
Yeah, so I can work with you guys to get the working draft of the strategic plan together, and then it will go straight to the council. And the strategic plan, just so we're all on the same page, they're the short-term goals that outline the steps that the city is taking now to point toward the vision that's in the general plan. So it's not going to be rehashing the general vision of the general plan. It's going to be there to support the general plan and to outline who's doing what and what we need to see by when. So more actionable items where people know who's responsible for what, which committee or which individual, which staff member, or what board should be working on what tasks, right? And a goal for when that should be accomplished by, and what it looks like to have it accomplished. So those are called the key performance indicators. So yeah. So I met with Ted, and he is over many of the different areas of the general plan. And so he gave me what he sees as his next steps, so his action steps, and what he sees as the key performance indicators that he feels like would indicate that he has completed that step, as well as the timeline. And so he has done that for transportation, water preservation, and the natural environment, as well as the public facilities chapters. For each of those, he came up with three. Yes. Three action steps with a 1 to 3 year horizon. So either immediate to accomplish within the next year, or a short term to accomplish in the next 2 to 3 years. So he has, yeah, three of those for each of those three chapters. I've also reached out to Sherry with the PTR committee. I know she's been out of country. She's probably back now. I reached out again this week and haven't heard anything. So I don't know if that was discussed at the last PTR meeting in March. I think they met 2 weeks ago-ish. But I have not heard back from her. So I went ahead and started to fill out some of the rest of the strategic plan matrix with what I think might be the direction to go in these other chapters. So we have parks and trails. I also reached out to Wayne about land use, housing, and annexation. And his response was kind of like, hey, we just sent it all to the council, and council's going to tell us what's important. So we can, I went through and I selected things that I think would be the most immediate action steps and the timelines, and I can put in the responsible parties. And maybe before we kick the entire document over to the council, we run that by Wayne and the rest of staff and those committees.
For Wayne, you said land use, housing, and what else?
Water.
Land use, housing, and annexation, which is that last element.
So Daniel, did you, since now legislative session is over, we know what passed, what didn't pass.
Mhm.
When we were working on the general plan stuff, some of that was still up in the air. So in between now and when we finalize it, has anything been needed to supplement any changes that in state statute?
Good question. I can't think of anything, luckily. In the 2025 update, or 2024, one of those, we had updates, but we had updates about water in 2024. We also had an update about transportation and some updates about the nodal development for like the station, not station area plans, but for some of those types of situations for communities that have like UTA stations. That was in the 2025 update. But the 2026 update, I did not see anything that would put new standards in a general plan. I will double check that. But my recollection from just last week, we had our APA, the American Planning Association. We did our legislative roundup or whatever they call it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't recall anything about general plans.
There were some land use issues, but I didn't know if
Yes.
it would affect us or not, or if they were just in general. I mean, there's some things that might be, there were so many bills that it was hard to keep track of all of them. But out of the 265 bills that affected municipal government, and maybe half of those passed. But it's always hard to remember
Severin?
which ones had to do with things that would actually impact us as an organization. I've gone to several wrap-ups afterwards, and I'm still trying to just make sure that I've gotten it down.
Yeah, I think it's what HB 184 is the main land use bill. And I can take another look at that, but there are things that will need to be updated, I'm sure, within the code itself, as there are again, more changes with ADUs. There are changes on a lot of
Two
random
that I
stuff
was
this year.
thinking of, there was a couple of water ones. I think it
Mhm.
was HB 501, and then there was also the wildland interface
Yes.
ordinance one. And that one had some changes. And so those two things will heavily impact our city. And so it's hard to know, but if you can just double check on those kinds of things and make sure that we're not coming back and having to change all of this again.
Yeah,
That
a
would
lot
be
of changes about moderate income housing again, but all of that relates to communities with 5,000 or more residents. So you are lucky to be small and exempted from
Yeah.
that. 'Cause
Yeah.
there was a lot.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
Luckily, some of those that were going to take out size of city did not pass. So there were a couple of things that were thrown out that it would be everybody, no matter what your
Mhm.
city size was. So I was glad they left it at 5,000.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, if you were a larger city, there would probably be things to change here in the general plan. So I'll double check and let you guys know. Do you want me to share my screen?
That would be great.
Cool. Okay. Okay, are you looking at an Excel file?
Yes.
Oops. That's okay, that's as big as we go. Okay. So this is the implementation matrix that I put together. And so you can see the chapter, the action step, and the timeline. So let's start here. This is what Ted submitted. That's not okay. So he said to actively update the PMP and maintain the roads.
Pavement management plan
Pavement
for
management
anybody
plan.
who doesn't know what that is.
Yeah. Could
And-
we not do abbreviations just because we
Yeah,
don't want to
sure.
make any assumptions? And then two, I'm just wondering when I'm looking at this, the action step, how do I know which goal it relates to? I get that there's a chapter.
Yeah, they don't all relate. Like sometimes the action step is an exact verbatim goal, and other times it's kind of a subset or like an amalgamation of multiple goals. So I could put, in fact, one of my iterations had this. I could put another column right next to it of goals, and I could put the exact citation, right? And some of them are going to
Yeah.
relate to like 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you think that'd be helpful?
I think
so.
it'd be really great to have the citation in case, so that people can kind of go back and refresh their mind on what are we talking about.
Which goal this relates to.
Okay, I will do that. So yeah, he says to actively update the pavement management plan and to accomplish a minimum of 1 maintenance project per year. Then reconstruct remaining, and that's not spelled right, but I'll go through and edit that kind of stuff later. Reconstruct remaining deteriorated roads and complete at least 1 project over the next 2 years and actively seek funding. And then plan and pursue trail projects for safer non-motorized active transportation. And his key performance indicator is to obtain grant funding for active transportation. So that can kind of go in Parks and Trails as well. I haven't heard back from Parks and Trails, but I was already thinking something along the lines of pursuing grants for park amenities. I don't know that we want to be specific. I know they've applied for pickleball courts and various things in the past and present. And so as a key performance indicator, that could be something like applying for a certain number of grants per year, or submitting a competitive application each year until one of them comes through.
Yeah,
I was
they
also-
usually do a few of them a year. So far, we haven't received the ones that we've asked for. The other thing that was brought up the other night was replacing the playground equipment at the park. And they get that with a grant, or originally when we put the playground equipment at the park, it was like a fundraiser where different people in town contributed to it. And so I don't know if they'll want to do something similar or if they'll just go for a grant and have a match be from the citizens. I don't know. But
Is that something that's just a idea, or is that something that's
it was
the
brought to us by
council-
the PTR.
Okay, so it's been brought to the council.
It did in a very, very casual way. Like,
Okay.
we would like to upgrade this. Is it going to be in the budget? No, it's not, sorry. But can you figure out another way? Sure.
Okay, I didn't know how far down.
Yeah, we did our budget priorities the other
Yes.
last meeting, so, and it was not part of it. And the pickleball court, we do have some money set aside for it if, as a match, if they get the grant. Because all grants have a match.
So Parks and Trails, though, like you said, Jensen, you've tried to do some outreach to them. We're just kind of on hold till you get a response back, and you're putting together a draft of maybe what you think they
That's
would
right.
like, but this is subject to change depending on them.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm thinking a key performance indicator should be something based on submitting competitive grant applications, right? Or engagement with the community, because we want something that they can control, right? We can't control
Yeah.
receiving the grant. Also, I think they should have some sort of action step that relates to a community engagement component, right? Something about volunteer events or getting volunteers to do trail maintenance, or something with public education, public outreach, something about them engaging the public with some key performance indicator along those lines. And that could even be like creating a friends of, or, something where we have the ability for people to submit, whatever it is, but, to help with matching, funds, right? Then water, this came from Ted. So execute planned stormwater projects based on the flood study, and to complete one project a year, including the first year, including year one. And then to develop a public communication platform for water conservation. And he wants that fully implemented through Yapify, which is something that they've been working on. And then educate and train the public on the state's wildfire risk program related to HB 48 from last year. And there's going to also be from this year.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I was asking you to double check and make sure that anything else in our plan doesn't leave out, because that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, that is a big one. So I can take a look at that. So yeah, he wanted something about public education with 50% responses to homeowner inspections within 2 years of inspections offered. So the state of Utah will offer inspections for people to check that they have taken the mitigation steps under HB 48 if they're in a WUI area. And his KPI is that 50% of the residents in Woodland Hills would have participated in the first 2 years. I can work on that wording. That just is what came from Ted.
I think they've already started that a little bit. Just in our local fire department has been going around. I've had a few calls from residents who have gotten door hangers with something, and they're calling me to say, Carrie, what is this? And I haven't had a chance to ask him, but they want to make sure that it's local people and it's optional and whatever, because somebody was going around town saying, by the way, if you answer that door hanger, they're going to increase your insurance. So it's easy how misinformation can just spread like crazy when one person says, that's why they put it on your door.
Yep.
Because they're going to turn you into your insurance company. I said, how are they going to know who your insurance company is?
Would to be the opposite also? Yeah. Anyway. Okay. And public facilities. So to plan, fund, and execute a water replacement project. And he'd like to have a project funded with a design in progress in the next year. And then update the water master plan and have that water master plan completed in the next 2 to 3 years, and have a fully functioning asset management plan, and to be able to complete and track all assets in the next 2 to 3 years. So that's what came from Ted. Then for land use and housing, these ones came from me just based on what I'm thinking looks like where we are. So the first one is, just as Carrie was saying, to update and align the land use code with the new general plan and the LUDMA updates from 2026.
Spell out LUDMA so that everybody knows.
Yeah, sure. I'll work on the wording later.
Yeah.
So Utah code updates. So develop consensus on desired design guidelines and styles for a potential commercial mixed use overlay. And here's where I want to be really careful, right? I want to make sure that we're pointing in the right direction, and I don't want to point people toward contention, and I also don't want to point people toward a vision that's not going to like materialize. And so the first two, I thought, well, first of all, Woodland Hills needs to know what would they want, right? Is there consensus here? Do we have an idea if Woodland Hills was going to work with the developer to come up with an overlay? Do we have an idea of what type of design standards we'd even like? What type of product we'd even like to see, right? I don't think we do. I think there's kind of a vision. I don't know if it's fully shared, but my sense is people have some different visions. We kind of have an idea, right? We have enough of an idea that we were able to put a general plan together, but maybe not enough of an idea that we're able to put a code together. Does that feel accurate?
I think so, because I think that we want to make sure that if that land sells, that we have something in place prior, so if a developer comes, we're not just going, I don't know, we'll get back with you. We want to be able to say, these are some ideas we have, let's work together.
Right.
So I think it would be important that we have something in place. I mean, it took a long time when we did the overlay for Summit Creek, and it still didn't necessarily come out the way we had thought it would, because sometimes things are done in just a discussion and not necessarily in the written. And so I think it's important to have it written out so that if a developer comes, we have some written documents that at least guide us.
Yeah, so that's where I was thinking kind of a three-step approach here. So the first one is those discussions, right? Develop some sort of consensus on what is wanted. The next thing is what's the feasibility, right? And so that's where the city would need to talk to some developers and get a sense of, is this really the right spot? What would actually come here? What would pencil, right? Like, we don't want to go and create a code only to find out that what we're thinking isn't even going to work, right? And then the third one is once we have a vision, once we have consensus as to like what we want, once we know that, hey, it could actually pencil, if the right developer comes along, they could actually construct it, then we can go to, let's create the commercial mixed use overlay or zone, right?
Yeah, when we talked about a little bit, the mayor's thinking more, kind of like how you presented at one time, Daniel, maybe kind of a Main Street type where it's flat, but it's like a main street, so that there's a gathering place that's not just the park, that would have parking and other things. And he also wants to put in a cemetery. So that's interesting. And so I think that that's the route he would like to go, but not necessarily knowing where it is. It's still just a cloud of ideas, right? And so having some more consensus and designations would at least be some framework for a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming responsible parties for what you've just discussed, land use, housing, you've mentioned already that's planning commission, and does that mean also city council?
So all land use goes, by law, goes to planning commission first and then to city council.
Okay.
Because
So we
planning
can
commission
fill those
can't,
in.
planning commission can't authorize anything, but it has to go through them. And then it goes to the council with their recommendation, which may or may not be taken, but most of the time it's taken because they do a lot of hard work.
Yeah. So does that feel like the right direction? And with housing, I put on there adopting the actual design standards. Again, that's going to be a few years out. You need to have a vision first, right? We need to develop the consensus on what's desired, know what's feasible. And after you do that, then we can start looking at the standards. Sometimes communities flip those and they spend all this time, they create an ordinance, they put all these standards in there, it looks really great, but they've never really figured out where it's going to go and if it even is feasible.
It's feasible.
And then it just sits there for 30 years because it's not feasible.
That's what we've had. in our past general plan, we had that strip along 11-200 as potential commercial, or the part that now is owned by Three Bridges, that it was potential, but it's been like that for 20-some years, and there was never a step to say maybe, right? Because
Mhm.
so it's just one of those things. And so I think that it's better to be in line so that as people are looking, one of the things that comes up a lot in discussions in the housing industry and in with legislators is, are you prepared? Not necessarily are you building something, although they want us to, but are you prepared if someone comes in to have the same vision that they have but in our own way?
Okay, I just have a few notes. So you'll spell out any abbreviations, so you've already mentioned that. If there's any links, like the Ludma one, is there a website that's like a reference?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just put Utah code here. Utah code 2026 updates.
Yeah, if there's ever any time that it's just maybe helpful for whoever's in charge of this to be able to, then link to the Utah code website. So any opportunity for that can link them somewhere for their work, I think is ideal. Can we turn this into a table when it's closer to being final so that you can filter and search by the name of the responsible party or the chapter, or, whatever. And I'm happy to help with this Excel part of things. If you want to share it with me, but I also feel like you probably know how to do a lot of this. And then I think it would also be nice if the different chapters were color coded.
Mhm.
So that it's just a little more readable.
Yeah, so with that, my recollection is we had talked about whether I should put the whole
I don't
strategic plan and matrix in the same format as the general plan, like in InDesign, or keep it as something like an Excel file, so then it's really easily adjustable. And I think we had said, let's keep it in a format like this, not in InDesign, so we can go and change it as time goes on. Is that right?
I think that's still the best way forward. Does anybody else have an opinion on that? So it's not just like a PDF that's difficult maybe to adjust. You want it to be a little more living. So that
Document, absolutely.
it's more of a spreadsheet that's actively,
Until it's finished.
well, so when you feel like when the strategic plan is like more finalized, you want it to be like not editable?
Isn't that what we do, is we come up with a completed document? Or is it always editable?
I think we have to have maybe a little of both, because we have to be able to put all our public documents like this on our website, I believe, like our general plan has to be. And that could maybe be an overview without necessarily all the specifics, but leave the specifics of, hey, we crossed that off, whew, that's done, as the living document, but have something that is more static and on the website that just says we have one. And it's covering these areas.
Okay, well then that makes a spreadsheet obsolete, which is fine.
No, the spreadsheet's still here because we still want the staff
Well,
to
then
be able
who's
to
in
check
charge
it
of
off.
updating the static version?
I would say the mayor and the staff. Because
So it
most
would
of
have
these
to
are
just
for
have
them.
like a last updated, and then they just have to regularly
They have staff meeting, what, every week?
Every week.
update the version that's online.
Yeah.
Well, this version wouldn't be online, and that's what I'm saying. There would just online this would be an internal document just for the staff and the mayor and the council. And then there would be a written document that would be online saying, there's a strategic plan, these are the things that are happening, and it's just like the general plan, just a page or two to put on there that accompanies, and these are the things we're working on. Then if you want to know more, then you can contact the mayor or the staff.
So on the static version, does that include action steps or
No.
KPIs? Or is that just
No.
like, here's the topic and here's who's responsible for it?
Or just here's the topic, not even who's responsible, because staff changes over time. Just here's a strategic plan that the
Well, you
council
could
is going
put,
to
like,
have. And
Ted's title though, that
Right.
whoever is in that role is responsible for transportation.
yeah, just the titles.
Daniel, does that feel like that makes sense to have a static version like that? Does that,
Yeah, I think we could have we don't have to run it through InDesign, but we could make the Excel file look nice. So we could put it as a PDF, right? And that could be the adopted version that goes on the website. And then because it is in Excel, whoever with staff wants to, hold on to it, they can adjust as time goes, but you don't need to go and like amend your strategic plan each time you cross something off or whatever. You could just
Well, Daniel, I'm even thinking even simpler than that. I think this version here is an internal document only. But the static one would be like a 1 or 2 pager that just gives a summary of what the strategic plan is going to cover. And that it has action steps and a timeline. And if you want more information, and then you put the city phone number or website, or email, and just let it be like that. So it showcases that there is one, but it doesn't necessarily have to go into the weeds.
Yeah, I think either one works. If that's the direction we go, then that makes the public facing document really simple.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think people don't want to really necessarily dive in deep to all of this, but they want to know we're doing something.
well, or maybe something we offer to the council is, do you make this where you could do view only to the public? If they want it to have more of the detail that's public facing. But if they would prefer just a more simplified version like Carrie's proposing, then that's a lot
How do
simpler.
other cities do it? How do they?
They just
On
have
their
They
website.
just have a basic page
Yeah.
because they let the staff do it because you don't want to get into the legalities if there's a problem or
Yeah.
if there's somebody who.
I feel like less is more.
Yeah.
Because if they have access to the information, if they can call someone and get a copy of it if they want the full amount, or the full packet. But I think putting out so much information might just raise so many questions.
Yeah.
And it would overwhelm the staff.
Where an overview, I think, would be ideal. If that's how, especially if that's how other people do it too, other cities do it.
Well,
Okay,
that's the
so
thing. Strategic
go ahead.
plans are all over the board. We talked about that with our first meeting about strategic plans a few months ago, and I think I shared some examples. General plans are regulated by the state. They have to include certain things, they have to include certain topics. Strategic plans are optional, right? And so some cities do them, some cities don't. Some cities have it strictly as, for example, Payson. Payson's strategic plan is the third tier of goals that Woodland Hills has in its own general plan. And that's it. That's all it is. Because you'll recall in our own general plan, the Woodland Hills general plan, we have goals, we have objectives, and we have action items, right? And it doesn't say who does it or when, but there's the 3 tiers. And for some people, or for some cities or counties, that is a strategic plan. And others go more specific like this, and others can talk about other issues, whatever if you're a city of Moab, or for example, you're going to be talking about how to do tourism mitigation stuff, and their strategic plan will go into certain strategies, or it might go into more about how a police department works or something if that's the big issue. So a strategic plan is much more loosey-goosey, and it can be whatever you guys want it to be. I don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer here.
Okay, so this
Whatever you
working
want.
spreadsheet is internal for the city employees or committees that are assigned to or are the responsible parties. And then what we're calling then now a strategic plan overview. So we have a paragraph at the top that gives an overview. And then we have a list of all the different chapter topics with another, or a table with the chapter topics, and then who's the point of contact essentially for that topic, and then their contact info. Is that the thinking? Did I explain that? So paragraph, 3-column table with land use chapter, responsible party, contact info. That's it.
In the
So-
public facing version?
Yeah, so column A, column C, and then another column with a email.
Do we need to do, let's see. So if we're not going to share the details publicly, should the strategic plan that's public facing just outline what it
Just
is
do a
and that it exists?
Yeah, I think just a general paragraph. I don't think we need all the other because it's already, things that need to be on there for contact information are already on there.
On the general plan? Or on where?
On the website.
On the city website.
Like if the people who
Okay.
call me or email me, they get it all off the website.
Okay, so then we're just doing a paragraph.
Yeah, paragraph or two, maybe even just enough to say, here, this is accompanying, these are the short-term goals accompanying the general plan, because the general plan has to be on the
Well, we're
website.
not putting goals.
Huh?
But we're not putting short-term goals because they're living here.
Right, but we're just saying the strategic plan
Has short-term.
has
goals.
short-term goals and it accompanies the general plan. And it's for the council and the employees to fulfill those goals.
Okay, Daniel, does that feel clear then of what that overview one pager is gonna look like?
Yeah, should I put that in the general plan right after the executive summary?
Sure, we
Yeah.
can offer it and they can decide if they want it in there or not.
So basically, a resident would pick up the general plan. The executive summary would explain what's in the general plan. Right after that, we say, by the way, the city has a strategic plan which outlines the more specific responsibilities of various staff members and boards, committees, volunteers, directs them how to achieve the things in the general plan. If you would like to be more involved or know more about what those strategies are, contact the city. And then here's the
Yeah.
rest of the general plan.
Yep.
Join a committee.
Yeah, join a committee today. Please call. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be fabulous.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
then I
that
feel
works.
clearer there on that. And then, yeah, I'm happy to work with you on just making this pretty, the Excel
Mhm.
spreadsheet and searchable and usable for the city. And then, thank you for all the effort so far, though. I'm really happy to see these action steps. I feel like they make sense. They're measurable.
Yes. Well, these are
Um,
things that they talk about because they have staff meeting once a week. We have council meeting twice a month and the staff give us a report. And these will help direct them on what their reports will have. So they'll be able to say, this is what we're doing and it ties it all together.
Yeah, this is great.
So if
I
this
would
is gonna
probably
stay, yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say only one other column I would add is just either a progress and or like a completion, with like a timestamp.
Oh, yeah.
Check mark box.
Yeah, some sort of, I don't know if we want to, anyway, we can maybe talk about that, but
Okay, since this is going to stay internal, do we want to have it more detailed? Do we want to have more potential, more action items per land use or per element, general plan chapter? Or is
We could-
3 or
we
so
could.
enough?
I think that's up to whoever's, if Ted wants to add more, I would say he can. I don't know if I feel like I need to make
Yeah.
that call.
Yeah. I don't want to give Ted more work. But do we feel like this
Well,
is
that's-
sufficient for land use and housing? Is this?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
land use and housing, planning commission meets every single month and they're continually working on updating that kind of thing. So it might be beneficial that, when you talk to Wayne, to ask him what he feels the capabilities are, because this is supposed to be for the next 3 to 5 years of goals, and you don't want him to run out of goals. So, but as a living document, they could always add more, say, check that one that says complete, add a new.
Yeah, or if any
Yeah.
of them feel too broad, like if one of them feels like it's a constant ongoing thing,
And
Then-
divide it up.
then you'd want to define it a little more clearly, but that's again, something, whoever the responsible party is, that's what they need to edit.
So
And
that's
it's
the
a
benefit
rec-
here of having a living document as opposed to a static document. We don't have to come up with all the goals now. But then if we're doing this as a living document where we're going to say, hey, periodically, or maybe January of each year, we're going to review this and check things off and add things to it. We also probably want to put someone who's responsible and make sure that happens, right? So I don't know if that's like a Jody or Lori to say, hey, each year I'm going to make sure, hey,
Let's roll the
add
dice.
your stuff on there, right? I don't know.
Do we propose that to the council of who then owns the responsibility of this?
Yeah, or maybe that's the mayor, but yeah, I think so.
Maybe
I
it's a
think we
this
should
would be-
find that down then, who's responsible, just so that it's in our notes.
Yeah,
Who's responsible for the document being updated? If it's Lori or Jody, or it'd probably be Lori or Jody. I mean, realistically. And maybe the two of them can only do it over lunch, so.
There we go.
I like to, that this being in Excel, if something does get changed, you can look at the history. You can look at the history by sheet or by cell. So you can see if somebody's made changes that maybe not everybody agreed on, or that you weren't aware of, or that you wanted to follow up on again, progress or things like that. You could see changes live
Yeah,
or a record of the changes. Okay, well, any other questions about this, or any other comments on the way it looks or feels or usability of it?
I'm excited, actually. I was thinking of this earlier today when we first had the idea of putting in this grant to get this money, and it's now been, what, 6 years ago? And it's almost like it was a whole nother life of the city, because it was before the fires, it was before a lot of things. And I'm the only one currently on the council that was there at the time. And so just as it's progressed, right? And I'm just so excited to see this come to be. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the work you guys have done, because it's like having a little baby that you just say, here, would you guys take care of it? And it's this really amazing plan. And now we're gonna have action steps and timeline. In my lifetime, I'm gonna see some of this accomplished.
I like it. Okay, anybody else before we?
When's our next meeting? Did we decide that?
Oh, good question. Daniel, how much, I mean, I don't think we need a whole ton of time, right? In between, we gotta wait to hear back from the Parks and Trails.
Mhm.
This is still kind of subject to any sort of goals that changed from the general plan. So this is us providing our best first draft based on those potential changes. Do we feel comfortable finalizing this in a few weeks so that maybe we come up with a first draft final to provide to the council in May, along with the general plan that will be provided in May? Should we wait till the general plan is, the planning commission's doing the public meeting in May, not bringing it to the council in May.
Yeah, what is the timeline here? So planning commission is doing another
They have their public
hearing?
hearing, town hall kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's in May.
I just don't know I don't want to get ahead of anybody, so, but I also want to be responsive and get this forward, so. Any comments on timeline?
I don't think there's anything wrong with meeting again in a month, and I should have everything in here. Kirsten and I can get with you beforehand. We can make this look nice. We can do all the things we talked about today and potentially be at a draft that we're ready to say, okay, barring major changes from planning commission, here's what we're ready to send over to council whenever the general plan goes to council, right?
Okay, I like that.
I have it on my calendar that we're meeting the 27th of April, that Monday. The
Well,
last Monday.
typically, we've been doing the last Monday of the month.
Yeah, that's it.
That is,
It'd be the day before council meeting, so we'd have an update to give.
that'll be okay.
But work?
Yeah, it's my son's birthday, but we'll just go out after. We just have to end by 6, so we'll do it. So that'll be fine. We can so we'll meet April 27th, 5 PM at the city. So that gives, Daniel, you and I a few weeks. It won't take that though to get this pretty, but again, that gives you time though to get any other feedback from other committees or any other city employees that you're waiting to hear back from. And
Probably the mayor too. We might want to get him down on some of what his thoughts are.
And you'll work on that strategic plan overview. Ideally, can that be circulated with our committee sooner so there could be any feedback so that we can then just approve it on the April meeting?
Yep.
And ideally, then maybe we have some completed things to finalize and approve in the April meeting so that then we can have them ready for council potentially May, or if we have to hold them to then accompany the general plan whenever that gets presented to the council then later. But at least on our end, we've provided a finalized draft.
Yeah, and we, depending on how some things go, our meeting schedules are gonna be really full in May because we have to do the whole budget. And so, we've done a lot of the pre-work, but
Yeah,
by law, we have to have things done in a certain order, so it's our priority. So some things may get bumped off
okay.
of our discussion, just to let you know.
Yeah, I just want us to be prepared, but we'll be flexible depending on the best timing for
Yeah.
the status of the general plan and what the city council wants. So we'll be flexible, but we'll be prepared, is what I'm hoping for. Okay, all right, well, if there's no other comments,
I make a motion that we adjourn.
it is 5:54. Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, and you know what? I'm sorry. This is so terrible. The meeting minutes, you approved, you seconded. All in favor of approving our January minutes? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, so 7, I will leave you off. Let me pass. Okay. Okay, sorry, meeting's adjourned, 5:54. Thank you. I will type notes.
Thank you. I think some notes too. Me just to clarify.
Oh,
So many meetings, I take a million notes because I cannot remember, no matter what.
I tend not to just listen.
I do that sometimes too. Oh, we have to, because all of this is
I know, I do like the new system though.
very sensitive.
And do we have to do like the whole, do I just click end? Save meeting assets? Hold on. Yeah. Oh, good.
So, yeah,
Great.